Who is Sophia? A reading from the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7 and verse 25. For she is a breath of the power of God, and a pure emanation of the glory of the Almighty. Therefore nothing defiled gains entrance into her. For she is a reflection of eternal light, a spotless mirror of the working of God, and an image of his goodness. Sophia appears in many passages of the Bible as the female personification of wisdom. Also, Sophia is one of the central figures of Gnosticism. Sophia is an aspect, or one of the attributes of the Deity. She is the breath of God, the Father's first emanation, reflection, image, the first of his creation. See Wisdom, or the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7 and verses 25 and 26. Compare this with the book of Proverbs, chapter 8 and verse 22. By personification, she is his companion. See the book of Proverbs, chapter 8 and verse 30. Her role as his thought could be read out of the Greek version of Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 7 and verse 48. Sophia is identified with the Holy Spirit. See again the Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 and verse 7 and verse 22 and chapter 9 and verse 17. Sophia is personal in that she is of God himself. Sophia is not personal in the sense of being some other person within the Godhead. Wisdom is more than just a personification. She is an expression of the feminine aspects of God. Jesus says wisdom is known by her children. Matthew chapter 11 and verse 19. Compare Luke chapter 7 and verse 35. We are born of the Holy Spirit. John chapter 3 and verse 6. Wisdom, or Sophia, is a feminine aspect of God, or one of God's attributes. In a document called the Tripartite Tractate from the Nag Hammadi Library, the father does not have a partner. Therefore, Sophia is not a separate person, but an aspect of the Father. If Sophia is a feminine aspect of God, then God is androgynous, being both Father and Mother. The Holy Spirit is the feminine aspect of God. In Hebrew, the word Spirit is a feminine noun. That is why it can be spoken of as a mother giving birth. See John chapter 3. The Gospel of John, chapter 3 and verse 8. However, the Holy Spirit is a force, the invisible power and energy of the Father, by which God is everywhere present. The Spirit is the power of God, through which God's family works. The chosen messengers have been given only the power and authority from Yahweh they need to accomplish their mission. See Genesis chapter 1 and verse 2, the book of Numbers chapter 11 and verse 17, Matthew chapter 3 and verse 16, John chapter 20 and verse 22, Acts chapter 2 and verse 4, 17 and verse 33. The Spirit is not a separate or other person. See Acts chapter 7 and verse 55 and 56. So Acts chapter 7 verses 55 and 56. And the book of Revelation chapter 7 and verse 10. The Spirit is God's own radiant power, ever outflowing from him, by which his everywhereness is achieved. See Psalm 104 and verse 30 and the first letter of Corinthians chapter 12 and verses 4 to 11. Therefore, the Sophia is a feminine aspect of God, his Holy Spirit, Sophia can be described as the wisdom of God and the Holy Spirit, or active force which emanates from God. The Sophia is seen as being expressed in all creation and the natural world, as well as the Holy Spirit is an equivalent expression, with Sophia being the feminine counterpart to the masculine Logos, whereas the latter is manifested in Jesus of Nazareth. The former is effectively manifested in the Church, which begets, anoints, empowers, and leads God's people today. See John chapter 3 verses 5 to 8, second letter of Corinthians chapter 1 and verses 21 and 22, the letter to the Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16 and 18,